Colt, when he first was deployed to Iraq,
we never were in the process of knowing that he was going to go. It was like a ripping. You know, I tried not to cry, but my heart, my inner, it was just like, that's my baby.
It's a hard job being the oldest and the man of the house.
What's it like having the added responsibility?
Horrible. Or just horrible. Ever since.
In photography or filmmaking, we say F8 and be there. And it's the being there that's the hard part. In order to get into that position, it took me 10 years of going back there every year. You're just putting in the time and you're failing constantly. It's never scripted, it's never choreographed. If you fail 100% of the time, you're never going to have work again. If you fail 96% of the time, you're doing great. So for me, I'd say I fail 98% of the time. So it's constantly picking yourself up, knowing that you're going to get the shot. You can't sleep, you can't lose focus, you got to be sitting there waiting. So casually, this beautiful white spirit bearer walks around a log on the river, and there he is right in front of you, 15 feet away. All you have to do at that point is hit record. Shooting a picture makes you work hard, but when you have a very important story to tell, there's no limit to sort of what you put yourself through to come back with those images. If I'm diving under the ice and I am so cold and I'm borderline hypothermic, I know I'm the only chance at connecting the world to this underwater icy realm through the visuals that I come back with. Believe it or not, my journey to become someone who specializes in some of the coldest and most inhospitable places on earth as a storyteller began when I was 4 years old. My family moved from southern Canada to Baffin Island, where we lived in an Inuit community with 190 Inuit people. Inside our home, we never had a telephone, we never had a television, and we spent all of our time outside playing in the ice and the snow. And it was at that point that I fell in love with the polar regions. And I knew that someday I was going to do something that had to do with sharing this place with the world. The most logical step was to become a biologist. I went off to university, got my degree, came back, got a really cool job, being out there all the time for months on end, coming back with this data. But that was the problem, is that we would see these incredible moments in nature, you know, a mother teaching her polar bear cubs how to catch seals, and all you have for that is data. The science is important. The science is the foundation of what we know, but that doesn't create the emotional connection. What's incredibly important for me as a photographer, as a filmmaker, to connect the world to not just a species, but to connect them to an entire ecosystem that's at risk. Everywhere we look in the oceans around the world, we see nothing but problems. You just take your mask and you just lower it 2 inches and you go past that thin molecular curtain of the surface, and we call that the thin blue line. And now you're looking at a different story. You see the true issues that face all of us in our oceans. Our mission with Sea Legacy is that we are a collective of the best visual storytellers in the world. We realize not everyone's going to get to experience the oceans, so it's our job to bring the oceans to everyone and to bring the issues of the oceans to everyone. By connecting these issues to the world through using visual media, and now I have a chance to really reach the masses. We are emotional species. We do care. You know, most people care. But it's to bring them out of their day-to-day busy lives into issues that are affecting us all. But it's not sexy, it's not interesting, it doesn't create great news, but that's the one message I have to keep driving home, that this planet is basically falling out from underneath us, and we have to address that. What I do with an expedition, I always say, what story do I want to tell? What images do I need to tell that story? And then what equipment am I going to need to tell that story? you know, you're only there once. You only have these incredibly rare moments, and you want to be able to capture it all at the highest possible quality. You want this footage to live on for forever. I say with all the visuals that I do, I like it to be the cross-section of art, science, and conservation. I want my viewers to feel what I'm feeling. If I want people to care, I need to transport them into the places and the habitats I care about. In order to do that, I have to get lost in the creative process. That's why I love the immersive underwater experience of being surrounded by a group of sea lions. Because all of a sudden it's like a VR experience where you're there, people are in the moment with you. I think if you were nervous of animals and you didn't understand their intent, it would be a terrifying thing to have 20 sea lions pulling on you, pulling on your head, your regulator, your gear, getting dragged around behind by your fins, chewing on your camera. But the hardest part is to be able to shoot through a mass that's being flooded because you're laughing so hard, because you're having one of the greatest experiences of your life. Often when something is really amazing when I'm shooting stills, and I get in trouble for it, is I will lower the camera and keep shooting, but I don't want to miss it. I'm really rolling video into my brain just so I can remember that moment forever. I can't even really remember what I've shot, and that's when I know I've done my greatest work. My name is Paul Nicklin. I'm a conservationist, a photographer, a journalist, and I'm using visual communication to try and make this a better planet. As I close my eyes for the final time, I'm not going to be surrounded by covers of National Geographic or, you know, accolades from my peers or awards. It's to know that our work made a difference. It's to know that our success will be measured in millions of square miles of marine protected areas, and that we made a difference that way. In photography or filmmaking, we say F8 and be there. And it's the being there that's the hard part. In order to get into that position, it took me 10 years of going back there every year. You're just putting in the time and you're failing constantly. It's never scripted, it's never choreographed. If you fail 100% of the time, you're never going to have work again. If you fail 96% of the time, you're doing great. So for me, I'd say I fail 98% of the time. So it's constantly picking yourself up, knowing that you're going to get the shot. You can't sleep